Whatever you accomplish in life, you will have to accomplish it on your knees. You cannot rely on your talents, on your education, on your appearance, on your connections, on the friends you have. You will have to battle it out with God on your knees. Before I begin, I wanted to share this verse with you guys. That's Luke chapter 18 verse 1. And it says, "And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not faint." God has been impressing it on my heart lately, and showing me certain behaviors that I have when it comes to how I deal with things. And confession time. Everybody knows I'm all about transparency, so this is me being vulnerable again. And that was that whenever I have something pressing on my heart, the first person I would run to would be a friend, would be a mentor, would be someone who's willing to listen. And that has been a hindrance in my growth and my relationship with God to a huge extent. There are some battles, there are some answers to things that nobody will know. Nobody in your circle will know except for God. The reason I say this is because I don't know if there's anybody who does this, because I do that. I was doing it a lot, and by God's grace, I'm praying that He kind of wins me from doing that. And I have to say this as a disclaimer. There is a time and place where you should seek counsel. You don't need to keep everything bottled in, and then you get into depression and you feel like nobody's there to listen. There's a reason God has put us in a community of family, friends, and that is that we rely on one another. You don't need to bear burdens alone, but there are some burdens that you will need to carry by yourself, and that man cannot help you. Only God can. There's a certain level of comfort that you're going through a situation that nobody will be able to help you. Only God can. And because of that, it is super important to practice. And I say practice because it is a habit. The other way I can explain it is this way. How would you feel if someone who's close to you, let's say it can be your spouse or your best friend, right? You're in a group setting and they're telling everybody this news that you're also hearing it for the first time, like, what? I didn't know about this. You got a promotion at work? How come I'm hearing about it right now? You know, it's like when you're close to somebody, you expect to be the first person that they get you expect to be the first person that they give the news to. It becomes disappointing when you realize that the person you're close to is treating you on the same, or was putting you on the same level as everybody else. They're not sharing with you their secrets anymore. It's like they aren't certain things that are just for the two of you, you know. And I think the best example I can give is between a man and a woman. There are some things that a husband and wife only tell each other and nobody else can know. And there's some things that, you know, they know that, okay, my man or my woman is going to come to me with this issue and nobody else. And when I was thinking about it this week, I was thinking of it in my relationship with God. Like, you know, as much as God has put me among wonderful people and has brought beautiful people in my life that are just strong women and men of God, there's some things that He expects me to take just to Him. There's some things that He expects it to just be between us and nobody else. It's like a sacred circle. That's just me and God. And it's important to guard that circle. There is this analogy that's given in this book. It's called Adventist Home. They speak about marriage being a sacred circle, and how there are some things that and some people basically in the sacred circle, it's only supposed to be you and your husband. You cannot bring other people in it. And I was thinking, Lord, that's just basically how my relationship with you should be. Like, it should be a sacred circle, because how I treat my relationship with you right now is, you know, it basically sets the tone with how my relationship with you will be when I'm maybe friends with so and so and so and so. But it's, I just want you to picture that your relationship with God is a sacred circle that nobody should be able to penetrate or should be able to come in. There are some things in your life that only God should have the privilege of knowing, and nobody else. And that can only be accomplished if He is the first person you go to when you have an issue. He is the first person you go to when you are in trouble. And I say this because there's some times whereby we will seek counsel from people, but had we prayed first, God would have probably not led us to those people to get counsel from them. It is important to pray before you even decide to speak about an issue with someone. Pray about it first. Ask God, Lord, is this is how I'm feeling, etc., etc. Lead me to the right person who you want me to share this with. Or if you need me to get counsel, lead me to the right person who I can get counsel from. And you will notice that sometimes it will not be that person that you had in mind that God leads you to. And the worst part of it is that if you are having an issue, a burden in your heart, and you just randomly decide to to go to whomever you want to go before you pray about it, you will notice that sometimes they will not even give you the counsel that God would have wanted to communicate to you had you asked Him who has the word that He wants to give you. So you'll basically be getting advice or counsel which is not from God. It reminds me of a story of a king in the Bible. The perfect example is Solomon's son. The king that came after King Solomon died, his son, he had a group of advisors who were older men that were advising his father, and then he had his set of friends who were his peers, and when he needed advice, he first went to hear what the older men had to say, and he was like, okay, I hear you. And then he goes to his friends and like, what do you think? And they told him like, you know what? Don't listen to what those guys are saying. Tell the people of Israel that if my father was hard, I will be even harder. If my father was giving you high taxes and whatnot, mine will be like exorbitant and whatnot, things like that. And that was the worst advice. He did not take time to pray and ask God for counsel or who would give him that counsel. Normally a king would pray and then God would send a prophet to give him a word. He did not pray. He just went to his friends because they were the people that he was used to getting counsel from. And guess what? They gave him really bad advice, and what happened? He ended up losing the kingdom in one or another. And that was the worst thing that could have happened, just because he did not take time to pray. So this is just a reminder, yes, pray always. Go to God first with everything that is on your heart. You will realize just how precious your relationship with God will start to feel when you start taking everything to Him first. You know, even sometimes I know there are situations where we're pressed, we need to give an answer, or we need to speak before we even have time to pray. In those situations, God hears. Even we don't need to have knelt down to pray in order for God to hear us. We can pray in our hearts while in that situation, like, Lord, please give me words to speak, or Lord, I don't know what to do, help me to figure out what exactly the best way forward is in this situation. And God will give you the words, or He will give you direction in that situation. But that can only happen when we have constant communion with God to be able to hear from Him, because it's a two-way street. You can't just be the only one who speaks. You need to also be able to listen to God. That's basically what prayer is. You speak, God listens. You speak, God listens. Then you listen, God speaks. And that means also making sure you're studying His word. And I say this a lot because for me, this has been a struggle, a huge struggle of always taking my burdens to people to help me bear them. And that has made me very feeble and so weak in my walk with God that I feel like if this was something I had been practicing like years ago, I feel like my relationship with God would have been stronger, and my reliance on Him would have been, You know, it would be instinct, like I'm in trouble, God. Not I'm in trouble. Oh, where is so and so? I need to talk to them. It would always be automatic, like I'm in trouble, God. Or I need this, God. Or who should I ask? God. It would always be automatic. So just an encouragement, please make God your place of refuge. The first place you go to whenever anything happens, God. And from there, everything else has to follow. He will lead you to the people to talk to. He will advise you on what you need to do. And remember that your relationship with God is a sacred circle. It's a sacred circle. It's like a ring. And make sure that nobody comes in it. It's just you and him. That's it. I hope what I shared with you guys made sense. But yeah, be blessed.